Welcome everybody, I'm Officer West. Today we're going to be talking about tornado sirens and everything that goes on behind the scenes with them. So we got everything from meteorology to geography, Scientology, no, not Scientology, but the other two for sure anyway. Let's get into it. In order to understand what goes on, big picture behind the scenes, there's a lot of other key players with a lot of years of experience. So we'll introduce them and we'll get started.
I'm Tim Shipman with the City of Dixon. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator or Director for the City of Dixon. I started doing that role when I was Fire Chief that I retired from last year.
I'm Danny Langloss. I serve as Dixon City Manager. Prior to becoming the City Manager, I was on the Police Department for 21 years. I served as Police Chief and the Emergency Management Director for 10 of those years.
Kevin Lally, I'm the Director of Lee County Emergency Management for Lee County.
Chief, correct?
Fire Chief, yes.
Okay, and that's what?
33 years for Dixon Rural Fire, yep.
You know, the sirens are placed in strategic locations around town.
Alright, so along with the grade schools around the area, we've actually got our own alarm, our siren rather, up on top of our own building here, the safety building. So let's see if we can get up there. Okay, so the siren behind me, this one's sitting right here on top of the safety building here. It actually operates at about 135 decibels at 100 feet. That's what it's tested at. So normal hearing loss happens as noises sustained above 85 decibels or so. You know, jets are right around 140. So if this thing were to go off right now, it'd probably be the last thing I ever heard. So fortunately, we got good weather today, and I don't have to worry about that at all. So these were actually designed during World War II as air raid sirens. They had nothing with the weather in mind, but after the war, we had a bunch of them left over, so they repurposed them as kind of like a weather alert sirens, and that way they could turn them on in the event of any kind of weather, such as large hail, high winds, tornadoes, or anything of the like.
So in regards to severe weather, there's several key stakeholders. One is our police department. They're working 24/7, getting real-time information in. But the people that are designated to watch that kind of from a higher level are Tim Shipman, our Emergency Management Director, and Kevin Lally, the Lee County Emergency Management Director. And so when we know there's a potential of real severe storms, like the previous week, they're watching that. They're watching it develop hour by hour, and as that storm comes in, working together to make those decisions.
I use a program called Weather Ops, which gives me a lot of radar, a lot of warnings, share it with other county officials, city officials also. So I watch that, continue to keep an eye on that, but I did get a phone call from Gino out of the National Weather Service saying, hey, this thing's looking bad in Whiteside County. I'm giving you about 10-15 minutes, which is unusual. You don't usually get a warning that far out.
For the siren to be activated, we have to be under a tornado warning, and we have to be in the path of the tornado. And recently with technology, they can project those things quite a bit. So a tornado warning means that a funnel cloud has been spotted, or there's rotation within the clouds that deems and rises to the level from the National Weather Service.
Recently with the storm that we had this past weekend, we did have, from the National Weather Service, they did see some rotation in the clouds west of our area, tracking, northeast. And then Kevin Lally and I spoke. He contacted me. He was in contact with the National Weather Service. Said what they were seeing. They didn't have any confirmed touchdowns of tornadoes in Whiteside County, but they had some pretty high potential, and they felt pretty confident that we could have possibly been hit. And so we decided at that point that we should sound the sirens.
And at any time, if there's a tornado warning or a cause arises and it meets our criteria, Tim, any police officer, Kevin Lally, or myself can tell the dispatch center to activate the tornado siren.
Now, if you do hear these being activated, we do test them monthly. So the first Tuesday of the month at 10 o'clock a.m., okay, they're always activated. So it could be a day like today, and they may get turned on, and that's just to test the sirens to make sure they're on. Now, I said we turn them on. I use the word we rather loosely because the police don't actually turn them on anymore. We used to have a button in our squad car, or rather a series of buttons that we'd have to push, and that would activate the siren and get it turned on. Now our dispatchers do it all electronically, and we'll hear a tone in our earpiece or in our squad cars, and then it'll alert, and then they can shut it off as well. We've actually had some false activations over the years where one of our sergeants, he was driving to the car wash Sunday morning, wiping down the inside of his squad car, and just happened to wipe the buttons in the same sequence, and it set off the alarms. So again, it was a day like today, and people are calling in going, what's going on with the tornado sirens? So it ended up happening to be nothing, so just always use your best common sense when the alerts go off. Make sure you're tuned into the weather stations, because we're not always 100% on these.
So when we were watching the storm come in, there were different projections of it, that it was going to hit Dixon, it wasn't going to hit Dixon. And at the last minute, they said it was going to hit Dixon, and then it veered just north and west of us. And so when we activated the siren, we knew that the only impacted area of Dixon would probably be the north side, and that it potentially would miss us. But since we were under that warning, the decision was made to activate the siren.
Changed paths from going through Nelson and through the center of Dixon to going through the area of Woodland Shores and up into Woosong and then into Ogle County.
It's one thing to point out with Dixon, though, is that we got this nice river that runs right through it. And what that has caused is, behind me, you see this hill. So after a long period of time, Dixon has got this nice valley that we're sitting in. So kind of like a big wide open area, as they say, to try to find a ditch to jump into, because tornadoes will hop over them. Well, Dixon, with the geography, the way it's laid out, tornadoes typically don't hit here. And doing a little bit of research, in the last 75 years, we've never had a tornado actually inside of Dixon. So in the surrounding areas, that's where you're actually more likely to see it. It's the broad, wide open cornfields for as far as the eye can see. That's a much greater chance of a tornado actually hitting there.
Knock on wood, I would say inside the city limits of Dixon. I mean, I'm not real good with the total history of it, but the city of Dixon does sit kind of down into a bowl a little bit. And for whatever reason, it does appear that a lot of the storms, this real severe storms, do kind of skirt around us a little bit. And whether that has anything to do with it, I think it probably helps. But so I don't remember the last time we actually had a tornado hit inside the corporate city limits of Dixon. We've had some fairly substantial damage from straight line winds.
I recommend everybody has a NOAA weather radio at home, because the sirens are outdoor weather sirens. They're to alert you if you're outdoors, not in your basement, not in your house. And the second thing is, if you do hear the sirens, take cover. Don't call 911. Go to your basement, turn your radio on, and try to figure out what's going on from there.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Today was a little bit more informative, kind of a behind the scenes video than we normally do, but I think it's important to show the public kind of what shapes our decisions and what influences that, and just kind of what role everyone plays to understand that this is also another team effort. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not. Again, we're trying to reach that 1,000 people so we can do some giveaways. If you want to follow us elsewhere, we're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So we'll see you next time.